When I left you last on the video last week, we were finishing up the greens planting, and I was going to wait and see how the weather was going to do, if we needed to water or not. If you remember that from last video, we ended up getting an inch of rain a few hours after I finished, so I did not have to water, so that was perfect. So on this video, we're going to be doing some tillage. We're going to show you the greens, and then we're going to get the cabbage planted. That's my plan here for the last week of August. I think I mentioned earlier that we were going to plant the cabbage right after Labor Day, but I think I'm going to do it right before Labor Day. So today, this morning, I'm in the old plastic field. Everything's been pulled up, cleaned up. We got that inch of rain on it, and it's kind of rough because that mulch lifter, leaves the bed all broken up, and so it rained on it and kind of settled it. So what I'm doing here is I've got my levee plow that I reverse. So it's kind of like a reverse levee plow, and I'm wanting to knock the beds down a little bit, and I'm going to come back, smooth it out before I disc it. So let me show you here what I got. Okay, this is a levee plow, and these gangs will swing out, and you can lock them in, and they will build up a levee. But what I use it for is I reverse it, and you can lock them in like this, and it will kind of knock it down. If I came in here and just disc it, which I have done before, these beds have been disturbed because, like I said, that mulch lifter picks it up and kind of sets it back down, but you still got a little bit of this across the field, and that's what I don't want. So this throws the dirt from the bed on each side, leaves that little bit of a strip in the middle, but it's not enough to matter. And what we'll do is I'll come back. I can either do one of two things. I can take my little do-all, which is just the width of the tractor, run it through here and smooth it. But I may come back with my bigger do-all and try it first. And I can grab 2 rows at a time instead of just one. So that way everything will be semi-smooth before I run my disc. And that should eliminate any kind of waviness in the field. And after I run my disc, if it's dry enough, I may run the subsoiler. What we're doing is we're getting prepared to plant the cover crops. But I want my field to be smooth as possible before we plant those cover crops. Take out any of the waviness in the field, take out any of the old beds, make everything perfectly flat, just like we started. So when we get ready to terminate the cover crops in late February and we start plowing it all up again, everything will start off smooth. So that's what I'm after here. I decided to hook up to the big do-all. Okay, that's basically all the same. You know, you may still have some grooves a little bit, but there's really not any difference in the beds where they were and the middles between the beds. So now when we disc it, it ought to work up the same, and then we'll come back with the subsoiler and probably go at a 45-degree angle. But it still needs to be disc. You know, you've still got some stubble, and you know, it's just better to chop it up. What we're doing here is just kind of right on the surface. This is kind of a look from behind on the do-all. Kind of got the chopping baskets in the front and the finishing baskets in the back. All right, we'll get this knocked out today and come back in soon with the disc. I don't know how soon. I'll have to see what I got going on. And then after we disc it, I'll kind of determine, if it hadn't rained anymore, if it's dry enough to run that subsoiler. And then after that, we probably won't do a whole lot to it until we get ready to plant the cover crop. This plastic field is the only field that I have to do this to, because the beds are wider and taller than my standard 38-inch row beds that I make up with my 8-row hipper on like the late melons and the sweet potatoes or the peas or any of that. So I have to kind of work on these a little different to get them flattened out so that they go away. Okay, fast forward to the next day. I got the plastic field disc, and we've got rain coming in, looks like tomorrow night, or late afternoon tomorrow night. So I got multiple things going on today. My cabbage plants, I get them shipped in from Florida. I got to go pick them up in town at the FedEx terminal. And we'll get the guys hopefully started planting the cabbage after lunch. We'll work on it tomorrow also, and it may rain before we get through, which will be fine. But I also really need to get that plastic field subsoiled. If I'm going to do it, I need to do it before we get a big heavy rain, because I might not get another opportunity before it's time to plant the cover crops. And it's not an end of the world if I don't get it done, but if I'm going to get it done, I need to get it done before it rains. So we're out here in the greens. Let me show you, they've come up good. These are the mustard. You can still see there are still a few peas that came up after we got that inch of rain, but for the most part, it's pretty clean. But what I'll do is probably next week, after we get through with the cabbage and whatever rain we get over the next day or two, let it dry up, then we'll plow it. Then I'll let the guys come in behind me after I plow it and hoe any little stuff that's coming up. And if we have time, we may go through it one more time and hoe it again, but that'll keep it clean at least for a while. Remember I told you we had the drive rows. That'll be these two here. Skips, we'll flatten that out when it gets time to let people start picking, so you don't have the old beds where they can drive. Then you've got more mustard here. Okay, these are the turnips. They're well established. You can see them really well. And these are the collards, just a little bit slower coming up. Still cracking the ground. So the turnips always come up just a little bit faster than the mustards, and then the collards always come up a little bit slower than either one of those two. But they're all coming up or up, so we got a good stand. So now we just gotta keep them clean. I'm gonna put out some fertilizer probably next week once it rains over, either before or after we plow them. It doesn't really matter. I'll sling out some probably ammonium sulfate, and then that'll be it. We'll have to spray them for bugs. This time of year with all the crops either getting harvested or dried down, corn, cotton, soybeans, all my type of crops, vegetable crops, anything, and you have little green patches, you know, that are still green, the bugs just kind of flock to it. So my cabbage will be the same way. I'll have to really stay on top of it to keep the bugs out of there. All right, before I get on the tractor, let me show you what my subsoiler looks like. This is a Paratill plow, and it's really designed, you see how it's got this curve right here? It's designed to run it on beds. These are 38-inch apart spacing. And it's designed to kind of run under the bed and not bust up or destroy the bed. Kind of, sort of. But you can also use it on flat ground, which is what I'm about to do. But today, and what I'm trying to do before it rains, is that plastic field, and we'll do it at a 45-degree angle, because those plastic rows don't really necessarily always match up with the 38-inch rows, so I do it at an angle. And that gives me, you know, the benefit of the field being busted up the hard pan there, which is what you're trying to do. You know, you're wanting to bust up that hard layer right under the surface. And I did it last year in this field, so you know, you could probably get by not doing it every year, but if I get an opportunity, I like to do it every year, just because we have so much traffic back and forth, trucks, trailers, all that kind of stuff. It certainly doesn't hurt it to do it every year if you can. The depth we'll run is probably something like this, which is going to be probably 18 inches maybe. It's got these points right here, and they'll dig in the ground. And pulls pretty hard. You got to have a pretty stout tractor to pull it. Well, there's not a whole lot to see here because it's just those shanks plowing deep. You can tell it's pulling pretty good. You kind of got to find the right happy medium as far as the depth. But this is something that you cannot do when you've got a lot of moisture. So that's why I wanted to get it done before it rained. I just watched the weather a while ago, and it sounds like we may get a couple of inches. So knock this out, it'll be good timing on that. I went and picked up the cabbage plants this morning. The guys are going to start here in a few minutes, and I'll go down there in the morning after they've started and do some filming with them planting. And we are still picking watermelons, still picking a good many, but it's coming to an end probably pretty soon. I would think next week is going to be the last week, and I don't know that it'll be all week. If we get a lot of rain, that could kind of finish them off. Hopefully not, because we haven't had a lot up at this point, so it's not like they're waterlogged. So we'll just have to see. But this week and last week, we've had a lot of volume. And usually that last week of harvesting, it'll go down to about half. So, which is fine. You got to end at some point, but I'm hoping we still have some next week. You can see the grooves my disc made going this way, and the subsoiler is going that way. But I feel no bumps at all going this way, so that tells me that I got all of those beds knocked down with what I was doing a couple of days ago. So that's good. Yeah. Okay, we're in the cabbage field, and it is Thursday morning. Got rain coming in this evening and maybe in the morning. So we're probably not going to get through here. We had to do something yesterday that I didn't want to do. My guys started planting after lunch, and they called me while I was on the tractor and said it's too dry. These plants are going to be dead by in the morning if we don't put some water on them. Well, I didn't want to do that because I knew it was going to rain tonight. I was wanting to plant yesterday afternoon, today, let it rain, and then maybe finish up after it rains. So we watered it yesterday afternoon and kind of planted ahead of where we were watering. So now it's pretty wet. It's going to help a lot, but it's going to make it pretty wet for planting. I've got my little Kubota here to punch the holes, and it's really too wet. Maybe by lunch it won't be if the sun come out a little bit. So we're punching them by hand, which is not very efficient, but got to get the plants planted. So I've got 3, 4, 5 guys out here right now so they can put a big dent in it, even if we have to punch the holes by hand. We made one round with the Kubota, and on that lower end, you can see it's pretty muddy where that water drains off to the lower end. These are what the plants look like. I get them in boxes on a pallet, a big pallet of them. They're just plugs, and these plugs are very wet too. They've got good moisture, and they'll keep that moisture for a while, even in these boxes. I've kept them for a week or more, keeping extras before, and they were still wet. So the variety of these cabbage is Cheers. Then I've got a little bit of purple, which will be Red Jewel. I've mentioned before, it's easier for me to order these plants out of Florida because of the time of the year and the temperature. It's just hard for me to grow those little cabbage plants in August. I pretty much have to grow them in the shade. I'm not set up to grow something, transplants like that, when it's so hot. And growing them in the shade, you got to keep them on trailers, pull them in and out, put them out in the sun for a while, water them, move them back. I mean, it's just a hassle. And it's just easier to do it this way. So I have grown them before myself, but it's much easier this way. Maybe cost me a little bit more, but probably not a lot more in the grand scheme of things by the time you pay labor and materials and time and all to plant them and get them up and growing. So this is the only thing other than the sweet potato slips that I don't grow myself. Poly pipes on this end, water goes all the way to the other end, so it's going to be a little wetter on that lower end. But the cabbage is 24-inch spacing in the row, and then we plant on 38-inch centers here. So you can see it's a little bit sticky, and it's probably going to get a little worse as they go to the other end. But we'll make do. We'll get it done. If we have to, we'll turn around, come this way, let the sun come out, dry that for a few hours on the lower end. They're just dropping the plants in the holes as they go. Got one hand puncher. He's way down there. So he's punching the holes by hand until it dries out a little bit before we can get the Kubota back out here. That hand planter that we use spaces the holes exactly 24 inches apart. I've showed you that before. I don't think I've showed it to you this year, but we've got different spacings that we've made, 18 and 24 inch hand hole punchers in case we ever need them. Well, it's not ideal, but we'll get it done. Get most of it done today and finish up either tomorrow or the next day, depending on how much it rains. You know, I got the plants here, so I gotta get them planted. And even though we may get a lot of rain, it'll be fine. I didn't want to take a chance on losing any that we've planted though by drying out, because it was drier than I thought it was. We should have pre-watered a couple of days ago and we didn't, so that was my fault there. So these cabbage will be ready. It takes them about 2.5 months. I've always wanted to try to harvest cabbage in October so I can benefit of all my sweet potato customers and sell them while we're selling sweet potatoes, so I can retail the cabbage, a lot of them. But just about every year they're ready after we finished retailing the sweet potatoes and we've sold out. So I pretty much wholesale almost all of them. In fact, almost 100% of them I do, because they're ready after the potatoes are done. It's too hot to plant them any earlier. A couple years ago I did a video where we tried to plant them the 1st of August, and it was record high temperatures that 7 to 10 days coincidentally. And so I said I'm not doing that again, because we lost them all. I had to replant them again now at this time. So this is normal time. We're actually about a week ahead of last year, but because we had cooler temperatures this week than we've been having, I got them to go ahead and send the plants now so we could plant them this week instead of next week. So maybe that'll give me a week jump on harvest when they get ready. But they'll be ready sometime in November, and then we'll pick all the way through New Year's. And after New Year's, they'll pretty much be all gone or done or whatever. they get pretty good size. We'll start as soon as they're big enough to pick, but as the season goes on from middle of November to New Year's, they will continue to grow, the ones that we don't pick. So I'm planting a little bit of the purple. I didn't sell that many purple last year, so I cut back on the purple and mostly just green. So we'll come back later today, see how the guys are going. I'm gonna get back on the tractor, try to do some more before it rains. Okay, fast forward to the middle of the afternoon. The clouds are building, you can see behind me. So I think we got the rain coming in for sure. Pretty hot today. It was cooler this week, hot today. It's gonna be back cooler tomorrow. The guys are moving slow just because it's wet, and that's why I didn't want to water. It's because I knew it would slow us down, but anyway, you got to do what you got to do, I guess. One thing I didn't mention was our row pattern. What we do is we plant 4 where these pink flags are, and then I skip 3. Normally you can skip 2, you know, and the tractor or a truck will straddle those 2 and you can drive down. But the cabbage, when it gets big, creeps out and you end up running over it. So what I do is I skip 3 for a drive row, and then we'll smooth those 3 out to where you can drive down the middle of it. Plus some of those trailers they bring, either our trailer or the guys that are loading their trailers, sometimes will be a little bit wider than the wheel tracks, so we got to leave enough space there. These little plants kind of melt in the heat, but with the rain tonight and the cooler temperatures, hopefully they'll be perked up in the morning. Those guys alternate doing the hole punching, so one person doesn't have to do it the whole day. But he's staying ahead of the guys, so that's all that matters really, as long as you're staying ahead of them. It's not slowing them down planting. What's slowing them down is the wetness. There goes my watermelon trailer. We're headed back to the shop, taking a detour, moving the little Kubota down to the other end of the field, get it away from the road in case it sits here for a couple of days. Well, I'm not sure what the weather's gonna do, so I'm probably gonna end the video here. It could be we have to skip a day. We're about between 2/3 and 3/4 probably finished, probably closer to 2/3. So probably take another day. It's slow, and mostly because it's still wet and muddy a little bit. And it's just gonna be worse after it rains. But anyway, we'll get it done and they'll be off and running hopefully before you know it. So thank y'all for watching and subscribing. If you have not, please do. We're about to gear up for sweet potatoes pretty soon, as soon as we get done with the watermelons. My next video will probably be some sweet potato prep, some things we do before harvest, as well as checking the potatoes. And then the next video after that will probably be sweet potato harvest. So anyway, until then, see y'all next time.